Miami Heat traded for borderline all-star Terry Rozier and are now making a push to return back to the NBA Finals. Woj broke the news the other day saying the Charlotte Hornets are trading Terry Rozier to the Miami Heat for a 2027 first-round pick and Kyle Lowry. Before we get into all the details of this trade and what this means for the Heat, how good or bad of a fit this is, make sure to go down below and sub up, because I know a lot of y'all watch the videos but you're not actually subscribed, so make sure you're subbed up with noties on. Now, my initial reaction to this trade was that I was shocked that the Miami Heat only had to give up a first-round pick in 2027, which is it's lottery protected for 2027. If it goes to 2028, which will probably be likely, it will be unprotected, I believe. But I was kind of shocked that all they had to give up was a first-round pick. I was expecting a first, maybe two firsts, or maybe sprinkling in some seconds, or another player that has a little potential, because I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the Hornets at all this year. No one really has, unless you're deep into the NBA like me. But Terry Rozier has been averaging like 24 points per game. He's an absolute bucket, and he has like 3 or 4 years on his contract. So this isn't just a rental. Now, I was talking to some people, and the reason they said that they think it was only a first-round pick and just one first-round pick is because they think Terry Rozier is a little bit overpaid. I mean, maybe a little bit, but still, you're getting a borderline all-star caliber point guard. He probably won't be that with the Miami Heat because his numbers are going to dip. You know, he was in Charlotte with no LaMelo Ball, so he was averaging 24. His numbers looked a lot better, but still, you're getting a really good point guard. Yeah, I guess you got to pay him a decent amount, but you're getting him for 3 to 4 years. Now, we're going to talk about the Terry Rozier fit in Miami in a second, but I'm recording this after he already made his Miami Heat debut. I don't know if players normally play this fast after being traded. I don't think they do. Normally it takes them like 3 days before they play a game. Terry jumped right into the game. Now, he did come off the bench. He ended up playing 29 minutes, so he was kind of like that sixth man. I guess they're kind of easing him in to, you know, the team. And as you guys can see, Terry didn't play that good. He had 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in 29 minutes. You guys can see the efficiencies right here. 27% from the field is terrible, 20% from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. He did get his first points as a Miami Heat player from the free throw line. He took a lot of shots. I mean, we're not really shocked because it's Terry Rozier. That's what he does. He takes shots. However, they just weren't falling. I don't know if he was nervous or what. He had like 2 or 3 layups that probably should have went in. So usually I feel like they are going to go in. So that would add in a few more points. So he'd be at like 13 points. You factor in another 3 that he'd probably make usually once he gets into the flow of things. You know, that's like a, what, 16-point game? Kind of rooting for Terry, and I guess I'm just being a little optimistic. You know, he kind of sucked. He just sucked in his debut. 9 points, terrible efficiency. But I think that this is going to be a pretty good addition to the Heat. I think it's going to be a pretty good pickup. A few days ago, I made a video where I traded everybody in trade rumors. I sent them to a new team. I made different trade packages, and I just basically made my trade deadline predictions. The player that I had going to the Miami Heat in that video was DeJounte Murray because, I don't know, I just felt like it was a little bit of a better fit. I don't think that the Heat necessarily need the scoring that Terry Rozier provides. When you think of Terry Rozier, you pretty much just think a scorer, a shot creator, a guy that can get you a bucket. With DeJounte Murray, he kind of is more of a point guard, at least in my opinion. I think of him more as a passer, and he has way better defense than Terry Rozier. The Heat have Tyler Hero, 20-point per game scorer. They have Jimmy Butler, 20-point per game scorer. And they have Bam Adebayo, a third 20-point per game scorer. Now they bring in Terry Rozier, and it's an addition, like it's good, but I personally still think DeJounte would have been a better fit. But we'll talk about what that means for DeJounte Murray in a few minutes, because now that makes things interesting. And the team that I had Terry Rozier going to, that changes a lot of things, because now that team, and we're going to get into it in a second, might get DeJounte, they might get somebody else. So here's the depth chart for the Miami Heat. You guys can see ESPN has Terry Rozier as the point guard, Tyler Hero at the 2, Jimmy Butler at the 3, Caleb Martin at the 4, and Bam at the 5. Now, I'd like to see when Jaime gets healthy, if they'd put Jaime at the 3 and slide Jimmy to the 4 and have Caleb Martin off the bench. Regardless, this is a pretty good lineup, whether you have Caleb Martin in or Jaime Jaquez. I think both are valid lineups. They did have Terry Rozier come off the bench. I didn't really read anything about it, but my guess is that they were just kind of easing him into, you know, playing with this team. They didn't just throw him out there as a starter, although They probably should have done it. I don't know. It doesn't matter too much, but looking at the depth chart, looking at what ESPN has listed, they do have Terry as a starter, which is kind of expected, but you do have a few questions when you see him come off the bench in his first game. I believe Josh Richardson started, and I want to say Haywood Highsmith also started for the Heat. Something I always like to look at when we talk about these teams is offensive and defensive rating. Now, when we talk about the Miami Heat, you got to kind of scroll a decent amount to find them. They are 22nd when it comes to offensive rating. So they are essentially the 22nd best offense in the league. And that's a little bit surprising. I mean, when you think of the Heat, you kind of think of a slow-paced game, a team that's going to really, you know, grind you down or whatever, play physical defense, are going to kind of focus on defense. So it's not that surprising. They have good offense. It's just slow. And I think that is factored into their offensive rating a little bit. 113, 22nd when you talk about offensive rating. If we take it, and also I think that Terry Rozier should increase their offense a little bit. He should make it a better offense. I think usually when you add a score of that caliber, that's what's going to happen. When we look at defensive rating, the Miami Heat are 9th, which is not that surprising. So again, I think the addition to Terry should rise them in the offensive rating ranks and just overall make them a better team, make them a better offense. Something else that's very interesting and you should note when you talk about this trade and just the Miami Heat in general is that they don't have anybody, especially that's good, that is like leaving after this year. The only guy that they don't have contract for, you know, seasons in the future is Haywood Highsmith, which isn't a huge loss. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, and Jaime Jaquez are all on contract for the next 3 seasons. So this isn't a team that is just going for it this year and has like one shot at it, like some of these other teams that are probably going to lose guys to free agency. This is a team that has a good shot for 3 seasons. And they are paying a lot of these guys a lot. Like Duncan Robinson making 20 million is a little bit much, but he fits their system so well. Like they pretty much, I think, made him like almost untouchable in trade rumors. Then you got Terry Rozier. Again, some people were saying he's overpaid. I don't know. I think it's about right, maybe a little bit less, but I don't really hate it. 23 mil, 24 next year, and then 26, 2 to 3 years from now. You got Tyler Hero making about 30 mil. Bam, Jimmy. I mean, this roster is really good. And you got Jovic, who I think could potentially be good. Let me scroll down a little bit more. You guys can see Haywood Highsmith has 1 year. That was not on the screen earlier. But Jovic is going to be good. They don't really use him too much this year, but I think next year and the year after that, that's going to be a good player to have. The Heat are going to be a team to watch for the next, 3 seasons at least. And speaking of this season, what does this trade mean for the Miami Heat, who are currently 6th in the East? And the East is kind of, not really kind of, it is very top heavy. Like the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, I guess even the Cavs, the Heat, like the Pacers might be in that mix now. Siakam, these teams blow the bottom tier teams, like the play-in teams, out of the water. It would be shocking to see one of these play-in teams that sneak into the playoffs as, the 8 or the 7 seed upset one of these top teams. And the Heat are 24-20, and they're on a 4-game losing streak. So they were 24-16, and they're managing to pretty much stay afloat with Jimmy Butler missing pretty much half the season. He's always dealing with injuries. Tyler Hero missed basically half the season. Bam also missed a bunch of games. Like, this is a team that's been battling injuries. Like the Cavaliers, that's another team that's very similar, battling a bunch of injuries, but they're managing to stay afloat. Now they bring in Terry Rozier. It's going to be very interesting to see what seed does the Heat get. I think it matters a lot, and it has a lot to do with their health. We can't really predict that, especially with a team like the Miami Heat, who has a lot of players that are always banged up. This run's going to be pretty good. They didn't really have Tyler Hero for the postseason last year. Jaime Jaquez wasn't on the team. Like, now they have Terry Rozier. That's 3 guys that could really help this team in the postseason. And when you factor in that they didn't have those 3 guys last year and they made it to the finals, they were upsetting teams left and right. They were going into teams' arenas on the road with the crazy fans and winning pretty much every game 1, except I think against the Nuggets in the finals. Playoffs are going to be crazy because you got the guys at the top like the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers, who everyone is hyping up, especially the Celtics. But I mean, the Cavs, the Knicks, the Heat, the Pacers, these teams, like, I don't know, one of them really might go on a run come the playoffs, bro. I gotta talk about DeJounte Murray because, again, when I made that video a few days ago where I put everybody in trade rumors on different teams, I kind of made predictions. I had DeJounte Murray going to the Heat. He's also been slightly rumored to go to the Bucks, But the player that, or the team that I had Terry Rozier going to was actually the Lakers, because I felt kind of not confident, but DeJounte Murray to the Heat was one of my first predictions. So he was kind of off the board. I know he's in heavy rumors to go to the Lakers. I put Terry Rozier to the Lakers because I think the Lakers need somebody that can score, that can drive in, create their own shot. I also think they need some athletic type of guards or wings. DeJounte Murray is literally all of that. He fits the perfect mold of what the Lakers need. So I guess DeJounte Murray now to the Lakers looks a lot likely. And I mean, we're already seeing a ton of rumors of him going to the Lakers. The Hawks are asking for 2 first-round picks and a player of value. Now, Austin Reeves is pretty much untouchable. I don't necessarily think he should be untouchable. I do see his value though. He is a pretty good player. I would not give you 2 firsts and Austin Reeves. However, I don't think I would also do Rui Hachimura, because 2 firsts and a really good young player is a little bit much for me for a player that is on a rental. Unless he has intentions to re-sign with the Lakers, that's a little much. I would say 1 first, then Rui. And you know, I don't know, 2 firsts is a little bit much if you also want a good player of value, in my opinion. In the comments down below, where do y'all see DeJounte Murray landing? I already know a ton of y'all are gonna say the Lakers because that's where all the rumors are, but there's some other teams rumored, like the Bucks. That could be very interesting if the Bucks somehow pull off a trade for DeJounte Murray.